Four giants of the English game, but only one of them will be top of the table at the end of this coming match day. Will it be Leicester? Will it be Preston? Borough or Coventry? Today, we find out. Hello there. My name is Dirk, and this is Blackburn Rovers Seas, your non-stop shop for EFL content. Today, we're going to predict match number 10, that's right, in the Championship. So do me all a favour, if you're brand new, where the hell have you been? Hit the old subscribe button for me. And of course, can I set you a cheeky little like target? Be a little bit cheeky on this one. 50 likes. Can I get 50 likes on this one? That'd be absolutely fantastic. So sit tight, guys and girls. We're going to jump in the deep end right here, right now, and get on with the show. Okay, let's take a look back at the last round of matches. These are the results. And these were my predictions. Here is how you guys did in the Prediction League. And a quick look at the updated tables should be on the screen now. All right, folks, let's head into match day number 10 now over in the Championship with some cracking matches on the agenda, including one for Friday night. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Middlesbrough taking on Ipswich Town. So let's head over to the Riverside now, shall we, as Rob Edwards, who are second right now with Middlesbrough. 18 points for them, but coming into this, just one win in the last 5 matches. So sticky bit of form despite their high-flying status. Standing in the way, though, are Ipswich Town and Akira McKenna, unbeaten now in the last 5 matches, sitting in 9th with 13 points. Now, coming into this, the Borough are on the back of a 1-0 loss to Portsmouth. That was pre-international break, that's right, to make it back-to-back games without a goal for them. Winless now in the last 3. Standing in the way is Ipswich Town with a 3-1 win over the nearest and dearest Norwich pre-international break. That's a great way for them to end that sort of part of the season with a massive win over their better rivals. But these two sides coming into this on the back of 27 matches previously. 8 wins for Borough, 9 wins for Ipswich. There's been 10 draws between the two sides. And with the last match they played at the Riverside, it did result in a 2-0 win for Ipswich back in December 2023, of course. But over the course of time, recently, anyway, the last 6, Ipswich have only won once against Middlesbrough. But what about the bookies? What do they think? Introducing Bob the Bookie with his take on the odds currently.
Massive game this Friday night, that's right, with 7-4 for your Middlesbrough. We've got 16-11 as your Ipswich Town, the draw, 23-10. It's a difficult one to go on. I don't want to be in your shoes, Dirk, for this one.
Appreciate that, Bob. Of course, this is Friday night under the lights, of course. It's going to be a tricky one. Don't think much in it, but I'm going to back Middlesbrough with a 1-0 win to take all 3 points at the Riverside. Let's go to Oxford United as they take on Derby. This is at the Kazam with Oxford under Gary Rowett in the relegation zone currently, I believe. 6 points for them, 22 spots in the table. Winless, though, in the last 3 matches. Taking on Derby County side, 20th of the table, 8 points for them. Winless in the last 4 matches, just 1 win in the last 6. Bit of a draw specialist are John Eustace's team with 4 draws at the last 6 matches. Now coming into this, Oxford are on the back of a 2-1 loss to Watford. That was, of course, the last match for them on the road. The last home match was a 1-0 loss to Sheffield United. Goodness gracious me. And they are winless in at least the last 6 matches. They're taking on Derby County side, picking up a draw last time around against Southampton at Pride Park to make it back-to-back 1-1s. In fact, 3 1-1s on the bounce for the Rams. Now, they have played Oxford 8 times since 1993. 2 wins for Oxford, 4 wins for Derby County. There's been 2 draws. They last played at this venue, also 1-1 scoreline it was back in October 2024. In fact, back-to-back or draws between these two sides. So a lot of draws knocking around every single which way you look. What about the bookies? What do they think?
Yep, one of the early kickoffs. We have Oxford against Derby at the Kazam. 4-3 is your host. 21-10 is your Rams. That's right. 11-5 is the draw. Which is the easy money? I'm not too sure.
Appreciate that, Bob. And yeah, I do feel like this could be one of them 1-1 scorelines. So I'm going to go with a point apiece for these two on Saturday at the Kazam. Let's go to St. Mary's. Nope, we're not going to go there. We're going to go to QPR. Loftus Road, the venue. Julian Stefan's boys are doing the business. 6 in the tables, 15 points for them. Unbeaten in at least the last 6 matches now. Taking on a Millwall side under Alex Neil. 8th in the table, 14 points. Just 1 point separating these two sides. Now coming into this, QPR on a good streak of results right now. 2-1 winners over Bristol City at Ashton Gate last time around. Their last home match was a 0-0 scoreline against Oxford to make it back-to-back unbeaten at least against a championship opposition. In fact, when I say back-to-back, I mean back-to-back clean sheets coming in. As Millwall, though, on the back of that 3-0 win over West Brom, a result which, of course, responded from that 4-0 home defeat to Coventry. Now, coming into this, they have played 24 times, these two clubs. 7 wins for QPR, 6 wins for Millwall. There's been 11 draws between the two sides. Now, last time they played was a 1-1 scoreline back in September 2024. Of course, that was in the Championship in match number 6 last campaign. Over to the bookies. What do they think about this tight game?
QPR kicking us all off with 18-11. Good odds for them. Millwall currently 18-11 as well. Very difficult to decide here. Down on the high street here, 21-10 is the draw. That might be the best option here, but Dirk, I trust in your judgment.
It is tight between the two sides. Could go either way. Going to go with a 2-1 win. QPR, though, under Julian Stefan, who could be about to keep QPR well and truly in the playoffs. Let's go to St Mary's now as we head to Southampton as they take on Swansea. Of course, we're still getting a couple of results together right now. They still sit 17th with 11 points. They're unbeaten in the last 3, but just 1 win in the last 6. Up against the Swansea City side under Alan Sheeran, who won 1, lost 1 and drew 1 over the last 3. Sitting in 12th right now with 12 points on the road so far. Coming at you right here, right now, Southampton picking up a draw away to Derby most recently. Their last home match was also a draw against Middlesbrough. As for the Swans, they're on the back of a 3-1 loss to Leicester, but their last away match was against Boys, 2-1 winners over Rovers back on the end of September. Now, coming into this, they have played 18 times. In 2008, 11 wins for Southampton. There's been 3 wins for Swansea. There's been 4 draws between the two sides. But the last match between these two sides, just at the start of the year, it was in the FA Cup where Southampton ran riot, 3-0 winners in the FA Cup. The last time they played at this venue in the league, even worse, Southampton running 5 past Swansea in a convincing victory.
Okay, can the Saints continue their recent return to form here? 7-6 on for the victory at St Mary's. We got 31-10. Is your Swansea your visitors? The draw is at 5-2, but of course the history books tell a bit different story, doesn't it, Dirk?
Yeah, with all that being said, got to back Southampton here, and we'll still 3-1 winners. They've got all the tools, they just need a bit of consistency, and I'm sure they'll be competing for those top 6 spots in good time. Meanwhile, St Andrews is the venue as Birmingham City take on Hull City of course, in the Championship, with Birmingham in 16th right now, 12 points for them, just 1 win in the last 6, but they're coming into this on back-to-back draws. Taking on the Hull side under Sergei Djurkarevic, 15th at the table, 12 points for them, just 1 defeat in the last 5 matches. Now, coming into this, the hosts are on the back of that back-to-back draws against Sheffield Wednesday at St Andrews, and of course that big draw against their old rivals from League One, Wrexham. The last home victory was a 1-0 win over Swansea. That was way back on the 20th of September. But their opposition, though, Hull, are getting some good results at the moment. 2-2 result against Preston not too long ago, and more recently that 1-0 win over Sheffield United. But on the road, not the best. 2-1 loss to Watford last time around for Hull. Coming into this, they have played 25 times, these two clubs, since 2006. We have 7 wins for Birmingham. We have 11 wins for Hull. There's been 7 draws between the two sides. They're coming in, and they last played at St Andrews, 2-1 winners for Birmingham back in January 2024. That was in the FA Cup. I believe that was even a replay. But last time they played in the league at this venue, 2-0 winners it was for Hull, goodness gracious me. So, yeah, looking back of the last handful of results in the Championship, Hull are unbeaten against Birmingham over the last 4 with a couple of wins and a couple of draws. But the bookies, what do they think?
All right, Birmingham City managed to ride the tide here of late, coming into as hot favourites against the Tigers. 4-3 on 10-3 though is your visitors, of course, and the draw is at 27-10. Dirk, I'm going to hand that one back to you, son.
Yeah, I do think Birmingham should win this game. I've gone with a 2-0 win for the Blue Noses. And that'll be a bit of a welcome relief for Chris Davies, who is feeling the pinch at the moment as head coach. Meanwhile, someone who's not feeling the pinch, it is Nathan Jones and his lads. They're off to the Valley, taking on Sheffield Wednesday, of course. Nathan Jones and Charlton are 13th right now with 12 points for them. Just 1 defeat in the last 5. Up against the Sheffield Wednesday side, coming into this on 33% form. They're down to 23rd with 6 points. Just 1 win in the last 6 matches. The hosts, Charlton, are on the back of that 2-0 loss to Preston. That was on the road. Make it back-to-back games without a win. Their last home match was a convincing ass-whooping of Blackburn Rovers. That was back on the 27th of September. Now, coming into this Wednesday, on the back of that 5-0 home stuffing to Coventry. Goodness gracious me, the last away match where they seem to be performing much better. They picked up a 2-2 scoreline away to Birmingham to get back-to-back games unbeaten on the road for Sheffield Wednesday. Now, coming into this, they played 26 times since 1998. Charlton and Sheffield Wednesday, 7 wins for Charlton, 12 wins for Sheffield Wednesday. There's been 7 draws. They last played at the Valley. It was a 1-0 win for Sheffield Wednesday back in February 2023. And Wednesday are unbeaten against Charlton over the last 6, picking up 5 wins and 1 draw. In fact, the last 2 at the Valley resulted in just the 1 goal, and that was that 1-0 win for Sheffield Wednesday last time around.
All right, Charlton at the Valley at home. They're red hot favourites. 8-5 for the victory over the visitors. That is the Owls. They're at 9-2. The draw can be found at 5-2. That could be the best bet though if you want a bit of a money maker for your accumulator.
Yep, Charlton and Nathan Jones should not be underestimated, especially at home. I think after that well-earned rest on the international break, 2-1 winners, I think Charlton coming out on top in this game. Meanwhile, let's go to Coventry against my boys Blackburn Rovers. Goodness gracious me. It's at the Rico. Coventry, Frank Lampard, top of the pops. 19th points for them at the moment. 3 wins on the bounce, and they're scoring a bucket load of goals. Up against my boys Blackburn Rovers. Big Valerian Ishmael, 21st in the table, just 7 points, and they are winners in the last 3 with just 1 win in the last 5. Now coming into this, Coventry putting, what are we looking at, 12 goals scored in the last 3 matches and in the last 3 victories as well. However, if we look at their home form of late, they did pick up a 3-0 win last time around against Birmingham. That was back on the 27th of September. But 3 wins on the spin, 3 clean sheets on the bounce. In fact, 4 clean sheets on the bounce for Coventry as they look to add another one to their locker. As for Rovers, they do come into this on the back of a draw against Stoke. But realistically, it's been a bit of a tough old season for Rovers so far, and I think maybe this international break came at a good time just to kind of get some more time on the ground and more time on the grass for the coach. So we'll see about that. But they played 26 times, these two clubs, since 1993. 10 wins for Coventry, 6 wins for Rovers. There's been 10 draws between the two sides. They last played at this venue, 3-0 winners it was for Coventry, who did the double over Rovers last season. And in fact, I can't even see a win. I haven't seen a win for Rovers against Coventry in a long time. Coventry winning 4 of the last 6. There's been a couple of draws in that as well, but both of those draws have been at Ewood Park. So bookies, I know which way this is going.
Okay, Dirk, don't want to hear this one. Oh my goodness gracious me. 11-6 on is your Coventry. Your poor ass, stinking shitty ass Rovers are 9-2. Get a grip, son. Get a grip. The draw, if you want to even dare, you can go there. 3-1 is the draw. What's your bloody mind thinking at, Dirk? You got to back the hosts here.
That's right, I'm also going with the bookies. Despite my blue and white tinted glasses, I cannot predict a win here. Going to go with a 2-0 win. Hopefully Rovers put on a performance. If not else, we could be on for a bit of a cricket score if we're not careful. Let's go to the Canaries as they take on the Robins at Carrow Road. It's actually the Liam Manning derby. That's right, as Norwich under Liam Manning sit 19th right now, 8 points for them, winners in the last 5. Up against Bristol City, the Gerhard Struber, winners in the last 4. They sit 10th with 13 points, of course. Now Norwich under Liam Manning coming into is on the back of that stinging 3-1 defeat in the East Anglian derby pre-international break. Their last home match was a 1-0 loss to West Brom. In fact, at least back-to-back defeats for Norwich at Carrow Road in the last couple of games there, losing to Wrexham and then losing to West Brom. As for Bristol City, winless now in the last 3 at Thrashton Gate, losing to Oxford, drawing with Ipswich, and then of course losing to QPR. Their last victory was a 3-1 distant win against Sheffield Wednesday, quite a few matches away. So not the best bit of form for a Bristol City side who were flying high, but they have played Norwich 23 times since 1998. 11 wins for Norwich, 8 wins for Bristol City, and there's been 4 draws between the two sides. They last played at Carrow Road, 2-0 winners it was for Bristol City, then managed by Liam Manning, who did the double over Norwich last season. Last time Norwich picked up a win over Bristol City at this venue, it was a 3-2 victory way back in September 2022.
All right, then, Norwich, it's the Liam Manning derby. As just said that we got 16-11 on is your Canaries here. 17-10 is your Strubers. Robins, of course, the draw is at 23-10. They're both desperate for a win. Form book is out the window. Who are you swinging for, Dirk? Yeah, don't know.
Surely Liam Manning's got to get a result here against his opposition, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 scoreline right down the middle, which doesn't do anyone any favours at this moment in time. Let's go to Bramall Lane now as Sheffield United take on Watford. Coming at you, Chris Wilder's boys are 24th with 3 points, just 1 win in the last 6. They got 17% form up against the Javier Garcia, who returns to Vicarage Road to take on Watford for the second time right now. But Watford are actually unbeaten in the last 3, 11th with 12 points, and they're coming into this on the back of a good result, or a good run of results, should we say. Sheffield United, though, did lose to Hull most recently, 1-0 loss there at the MKM. The last match at home also resulted in a 2-1 loss to Southampton. In fact, just the 1 win so far since the returning Chris Wilder took over once again from Ruben Celis. The opposition, though, Watford are on the back of that 2-1 win over Oxford. That was at Vicarage Road. The last away match was a 2-2 scoreline at Portsmouth with a nice result away from home. Now, coming into this, they have played 35 times since 1994. 13 wins for Sheffield United, 13 wins for Watford. There's been 9 draws between the two sides. They last played at Bramall Lane, resulting in a 1-0 win for Sheffield United, who have won 3 on the bounce against Watford. But what do the bookies think heading into match day?
Okay, the Blades are terrible right now. Even with Chris Wilder still in the dugout, or back in the dugout, should we say, 10-9 on. They are favoured for the victory, but in the other dugout is the returning Javier Garcia there, 31-10 for the Hornets. The draw is at 23-10. This one could be tricky to decide here, Dirk.
Yeah, I've got to. I'm going to go with Watford here. New manager bounce, of course. It's a tale of two managers returning to their clubs. Of course, it's not been the greatest return for Chris Wilder, but I think Javi Garcia has got a lot of tools in his locker and maybe a good response with that new manager bounce for the visiting Hornets on this one. So 2-1 win for Watford to continue the miserable start to the season for Sheffield United. Let's go to Stoke City now as they take on Wrexham at the Bet365. Mark Robbins' lads are 5th right now, 15 points for them, but they are winless in the last 4 matches. In fact, just 1 win in the last 6. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Wrexham are unbeaten in the last 5, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They sit 18th with 10 points, of course. Now, coming into this, Stoke are on the back of that 1-1 scoreline away to Blackburn Rovers, with the last victory being a 1-0 win over Birmingham way back on the 13th of September. As for Wrexham, 3 draws on the spin between these two sides. Meanwhile, their opposition Wrexham are on the back of 3 successive draws themselves, picking up a draw against Derby, then away to Leicester, and then more recently at home to Birmingham. Their last away match, or their last away victory, should we say, 3-2 winners away to Norwich way back on the 20th of September. Now, these two clubs have played 4 times since 2013, 4 wins for Stoke, nothing for Wrexham. There's been no draws between these two sides, with the last match competitively between these two back at Stoke in January 2015 in the FA Cup, resulting in a Stoke 3-1 victory to send them through to the next round. However, what about the bookies this time around? What do they think?
All right, the Baggies are up against them. 4-3 on against them. High-flying Preston North End Nubbers. 7-2 is your visitors there. 5-2 is the draw, but I think your best money might be on the hosts.
Appreciate that. Of course, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win as well for Stoke to get back to winning ways and continue their impressive start to the season, which has them well and truly in the playoffs. Let's go to the Baggies now as West Brom take on Preston. This is coming at the Hawthorns, that's right, with Ryan Mason in charge. Just 1 win in the last 5, though. They sit 7th right now, 14 points for them. Up against the Preston North End side, unbeaten the last 5. They sit 4th with 16 points, of course, coming into this match. That's right. The Baggies, though, are on the back of a 3-0 loss away to Millwall. The last home match was a 1-1 scoreline against Leicester. Solid point for them at home. As for Preston, 2-0 winners over Charlton at Deepdale. Their last away match, a 2-2 scoreline against Hull. Now, of course, they have played 25 times, these two clubs, since the year 2000. 15 wins for West Brom, 7 wins for Preston. There's been 3 draws between the two sides. They last played at this venue. 3-1 winners it was for West Brom back in New Year's Day 2025. Of course, West Brom are unbeaten against Preston over the last 5, picking up 4 wins and just that 1 draw.
Okay, Bet365 Stadium is the venue. We got Stoke Atcher against Wrexham. I don't even have any odds on this one. I don't know. No idea. Absolutely no idea. We've got no odds. Screw it. Just back the hosts.
Going to go with a win for West Brom here. 3-1 winners to get back to winning ways and dent in Preston's very, very impressive start to the campaign in the Championship. And then finally we go to the King Power as Leicester take on Portsmouth in a late kickoff coming at you on the 18th of October at the King Power Stadium. Leicester under Martin Cufientes are 3rd right now, unbeaten in at least the last 6 games, picking up 4 draws at the last 5 though, taking a Portsmouth side who sit 14th with 12 points, 2 games unbeaten as well at the moment. Now they are last coming into this, Leicester City with a 3-1 win over Swansea. That was back on October the 4th. Of course, a good streak of draws there for Leicester. As for Pompey, an impressive 1-0 home win against Borough. Of course, that followed from a 2-2 scoreline as well at home to Watford. The last away match for Portsmouth, 2-1 loss to Ipswich. But they're coming into this having played Leicester 14 times. Leicester winning 6 of them, 5 wins for Portsmouth. There's been 3 draws between the two sides. Now, last time they played at this venue, it was a 1-1 scoreline. In fact, it was back-to-back draws between these two sides, both at the King Power, at Fratton Park, but that was all the way back in November and December 2011, goodness gracious me, when both of these two clubs were in the Championship.
Okay, finally we've got the King Power Stadium, Leicester City against Pompey. The hosts are 5-3 for the W here, 70-4 is your Pompey, 11-4 is the draw. There's a lot of draws knocking around on the old form book here between these two sides of the recent form, so play your cards right, Dirk.
Following on from that, I'm going to go with a win for Leicester City, convincing win for Leicester City. 3-0 winners to keep themselves well and truly in the automatic race. However, folks, that completes match number 10 for me over in the Championship. And if I am right, this is what the table will look like. It'll be Coventry City top of the pops, Middlesbrough in 2nd place, Leicester, Stoke, QPR and the Baggies in the playoffs, with Rovers, Wednesday and Sheffield United going down. But of course, it's still lots of action still to be played in the Championship. Speaking of lots of action, make sure you drop your own predictions in the comments section down below and we'll showcase you the best next time around when we return for Matchday 11. Of course, subscribe and smash the like if you're brand new to the channel. Every little like does wonders to boost the channel, and they of course cost you absolutely nothing, so please do just that. But until then, we'll see you soon whenever we return. But until then, we're done.